I see you because I am
Well,
there.
good evening, everyone. This is Keith with Positively Osceola for another edition of our coffee club discussion. And the judge is right along with the program. So, super excited tonight. We get to be with Judge Apte, Judge Alan Apte, to be specific. How you doing tonight, Judge?
I am wonderful, Keith. Thanks for having me on tonight.
We are honored to have you here, sir. I know you are a very busy man, so to be able to have you tonight as a guest is a very cool thing for us. Wanted to just, I guess, kick it off and kind of give people a background of why we thought it was really super to have you on tonight. Certainly your accomplishments, what you've done in the community for a number of years, and what you're doing right now. But also, I've always thought that that we tend to be, as voters, a little less versed or educated in the selections that are judicial, that aren't, the county commissioners, the mayors, those things that, the president. We're going to work on all those things before we go in, I hope, but still seems like we're not quite, we've not all done our background as much in the judicial side. So I thought it was very cool to be able to come tonight, just get to know you, have a conversation with you, let people hear what you're thinking, what your passion is. So again, thank you for being a part of this tonight. So why don't we just start off by saying, again, we said hello. Why don't you, for those people who might not know you, might not know what you've been doing in the community for so many years, why don't you kind of just let people know who you are?
Well, good evening, everyone. I've lived in Orange and Osceola counties for the 27 years. I moved here in early 1993 to pursue a legal career. Hurricane Andrew caused me to move to Central Florida, and I was an assistant state attorney. I started here as an assistant state attorney in the Ninth Circuit. I prosecuted cases in Orange County and Osceola County for several years. Before I even came to Central Florida, it was very important to me to give back to the community. So I did volunteer work when I was in law school and in college. So when I moved up here, I continued on working outside of the courtroom in the community. And I worked here for several years, moved back to South Florida for a short period of time when my father got sick, and I moved back here a year or so later, and I continued my career as a prosecutor. And in that second go around here, judges and other lawyers in the community were saying, when are you going to be a judge, Alan? When are you going to be a judge? And I kept pushing them off and pushing them off and pushing them off. And then one of our judges was retiring, and I spoke to him and said, I would like to run for your seat. And he gave me his blessing, and I ran, and that was in 2002. And I was elected to the bench. And at the time that I got elected in 2002, I had practiced in Orange and Osceola counties and had done over 100 jury trials as a practicing lawyer. And that's first chair. That means I was the lead attorney and predominantly did them on my own. A couple of cases I had second chairs help assisting me. And as a judge, I never stopped giving back to the community. I've always had a passion for children. I've had a passion for the elderly and people less fortunate than me, and that comes from my parents. My parents are the salt of the earth. They're blue-collar individuals who grew up during the Great Depression, who had nothing, and they worked hard, very hard, to get college graduate degrees and postgraduate degrees, and they never were shy about telling me that an education is a secret to success, plus hard work and some other things that I think we'll talk about. And as a judge, I continue working in the community. I've been on the Boys and Girls Club board for both Orange and Osceola counties over the years, and big brothers, big sisters for both Orange and Osceola counties. And I served Meals on Wheels for Seniors First before I took the bench, and I coach youth soccer. And I mean, it's endless. I've never stopped. I've never stopped giving back to the community because that's me. Community comes first.
So what hit me when you were saying that was, so it's been a number of years, and from where I sit, I see that the community or the world we live in has gotten much more complex, in some ways great, in some ways challenging. So from the judge's seat, from the bench, what have you seen? Have you seen, is that, does that also translate to what where you sit and how you perceive things? Is everything gotten much more complex? And the reason I ask you that is my assumption is if that is true, then your experience is extraordinarily important. So is that true? Do you see it that way?
Absolutely. Experience does matter, Keith. Every single year, the legislature adds new laws. Every single year, the appellate courts interpret laws, and that increases the complexity of every single type of case that I handle. As as a young lawyer, the laws and the rules were much simpler. And in these 27 years being a member of the Florida Bar, the countless of new rules, new laws, new procedures, things that we have to do every single day has increased, and that's what um, helps me on the bench is I've been in every single division. I've been in civil, I've been in family, I've been in domestic violence, I've been in criminal, I've been in our violation division. I started a unified family court, one family, one court, so we don't have different orders from different judges. And the legislature adds things to us every single day, and so does the appellate court. So experience does matter, and things do get complex. 5 minute hearings are not 5 minute hearings anymore. That same 5 minute hearing 20 years ago is an hour hearing now, or that 1 day trial is now a 2 to 3 day trial, and scientific evidence and evidentiary requirements get increased every single year by the legislature and also by our appellate courts.
I would imagine that is extraordinarily true. So when you were telling us that, another thing that hit me was, so you've invested that much time prior even to being a judge, and now as a judge for so many years. So how do you get up in the morning and where do you get your drive from? I don't think there's anything more wowing to me than to speak to somebody who has had a lot of experience, a lot of time investment, but yet when they get up in the morning, they're excited to do what they do. That passion is still there. So how do you get yourself driven to the day?
I was asked that similar question earlier today, and I had to reflect upon everything. And I think it goes back from the beginning. Where I grew up, I actually was a bag boy at a grocery store in junior high, and probably wasn't really allowed to be doing that. But it was a local grocery store that's now a Walgreens. That's how small it is. It's a Walgreens where I grew up, and I was a bag boy. I was there filling the bags. I used to get in trouble double bagging, double paper bags. So I got in a little trouble about that, and so that was part of the hard work, and it started with that hard work. So my passion started there, and even when I was in college, I worked. I worked in college. I worked at in the rec center. I worked refing basketball games and football games and volleyball games and things like that. And um, it's just that the passion and it's fun. And you get up every single morning for something you love to do. It's not really work. It's love. It's really is love. And you see the fruits of that at the end of the day. And that's why I love it so much. So when I finished college, I was at this award ceremony and they had us all stand up. And they kept saying things. If this didn't apply to you, sit down. And they're asking all these questions. And then the last question was, if you are graduating with a chemistry degree, remain standing. And I'm like, well, I'm graduating with a chemistry degree. And I look around and I'm the only one standing. And I was awarded um, by the University of Miami with the Dr. Jack Kelsey Sportsmanship Award because I was well respected among all of those intramural athletes and all the sporting events that I refed all my years at the University of Miami, and I have never forgotten that, and I loved having my name engraved on that. And it was just one of those things that was started like everything I do has to have a passion to it.
Right.
And so when I was in law school, I saw this flyer about a program, and it was a juvenile delinquency and prevention program that what we basically call a civil citation now. And it was even better than a civil citation because those cases never were referred to anyone but to our law school. There was no more law enforcement involvement. There was no judicial involvement. There was no case number. There was nothing. The kids were referred with their parents to the law school, and it was after school. We would meet with the parents and we would discuss what went on. We never spoke to the law enforcement officer or the school personnel. We took what the paperwork said and we had these discussions. We came up with not theories, but we came up with ideas of what we can do so there are no negative contacts with law enforcement. There are no negative contacts with other students or teachers. And I love that program. And I did that when I was my last year of law school. So that pushed me forward towards always giving back, and it's passion. So yes, every single morning when I wake up, even today, I love going to work. I love going to work. I love giving back because everything I do helps the community. Unfortunately, in the judicial system, it's an adversarial system. There are
Right.
winners and losers. Well, most of the times, there's losers and losers because not everybody gets what they want.
Right.
And but every single day, I get up, I get dressed, come to work, and I love everything that I do. Absolutely.
So, and I join you in that. I really I really love getting up and seeing what the day will bring and try to make it a successful day. So, have you ever thought of yourself? I mean, I guess we think of the judge as the guy that's going to, do the gavel deal, but in reality, from your just the contributions you've made in the community, have you thought of yourself more on the mentor side? I mean, I know you make the decisions, but have you thought yourself as a teacher, a mentor? I mean, you've got to be that role has to be part of what you're doing.
My mom was a school teacher. She taught in the inner cities of Miami in the 50s, in the 60s, and in the mid 70s when I went to first grade, she stopped teaching in the inner city of Miami so that she could be closer to me. And that was my parents' goal. They wanted to both work within a short distance from my school that they could be part of my life, making sure I got to school, making sure I got home from school. So teaching was always very, very part of my family's fabric
Right.
is teaching. So um, when I came here, there's teaching opportunities even as young attorneys. The state attorney and public defenders put on a school together to train young lawyers. The Florida Prosecutors Attorney Association has schools, and anytime I could teach, I would teach. And as a judge, we have something now called the justice teaching. And before we had justice teaching, I did justice teaching, and that was I would be invited when I was a juvenile court judge to go to our schools, and I would teach about and debunk the myths of the system.
Right.
And back when I was in juvenile court, every single fifth grader would come to the courthouse in juvenile, and that was part of it. It was like a field trip, but there was a school component, things of that nature. And the school teacher that was assigned to the courthouse, she would always bring them to my courtroom, and I would love. They would sit there and watch court, and I would get off the bench afterwards, and I would take off my robe, and I would sit in there and talk to them until the teacher's like, "We got to go, we got to go." So always would love to teach them when they came to see me, and when I would go to see them. And um, every opportunity that I can mentor or teach, I do. Every single year, except for this year, the Florida Bar puts on a moot court competition for all the law schools, and I make sure that I set my court schedule so I can attend. If it's here in Orlando or if it's in South Florida, I go and do it because that is an important thing to help our young lawyers transitioning, our law school students transitioning into law school. And part of being a circuit judge, we have a conference, and our conference is education based. And since my second year on the bench until this year, I was on the education committee, and I taught in every single discipline to my fellow judges. I've even been invited to teach Fifth and Sixth Amendment law to the Florida Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers for their board certification training, because every single year there's an opportunity to take a test to become board certified, and I was invited to teach Fifth and Sixth Amendment to those individuals a couple of years ago. You can't not stop learning, and the best
Right.
way to learn is also to teach. So I learn things. I learn something every single day. And I was asked, I think a week or so ago, is when I transition to a new division, how do I prepare for it? And I tell them what I've been doing my entire 27 years as a lawyer and 18 years as a judge. I break out the new books. We still get books, even though we're computerized. I break out the Rules of Judicial Administration, Rule 2. I read that. Whatever division I'm going to. If it's civil, I read Rule 1. If it's criminal, it's Rule 3. If I'm in probate, which I'm in now, probate guardianship, it's Rule 5. If it's family, it's Rule 12, and there's Rule 6 as well in other divisions. So you read the rules, and every single year the legislature can add things to the evidence codes because it's statute. So I read the evidence code, Chapter 90 of the Florida statute. So, and I tell young lawyers, and I tell my fellow judges too, read them, because you'll find something in that you did not know was there, or something that you remembered it, but it has, passage of time is not fresh in your memory. So
Right.
that's how I prepared, and that's educating myself every single day. And this is a little quirky thing that my dad used to do. My dad, even though I'm a judge, and even before I was a judge, my dad would get the legal newspaper, the Florida Bar News, and he would take a scissors and cut out articles and mail them to me with this, you need to read this, you need to read this now, then call me. That was my dad, and he wasn't a school teacher. He was a lawyer, and he was an engineer before that, and in the Air Force. So, but that was him. That was them. They made sure that I never stopped learning, and I think that is one of the greatest gifts that they gave me, and when I want to impart. When people ask me, how's that translate to the bench? I explain. I explain, explain, explain. I'm not the person that's going to say to the litigants or the lawyers, your motion is granted, or your motion is denied, or I find for you, or I find for the other person. I will say that, and I will say, these are the facts as I've heard them. These are the rules that I have to apply, and this is the law that I have to apply as well. And this is my decision. So no one's ever going to leave my courtroom, good, bad, or indifferent, not knowing how and why I ruled. And that makes for a good judge. And that's part of the experience. My experience in every single division helps me make good decisions every single day.
Well, sir, I think it's safe to say you were cut out to be a judge. There's no question at all in every
Thank you,
way.
Pete. I appreciate that.
So, what would you say? So, if you looked at if you look at the voters as the community, what would you say to the voters, right now, today in this time that we're in? What would you say to the voters, and why you want to be elected, but also what would you say to the community today?
This pandemic has slowed down our justice system. And the saying is a truism: justice delayed is justice denied. It doesn't matter if it's a civil case, a criminal case, or a family case. This delay is causing harm in some manner to someone. And
Right.
when we have not shut down, we have just had limited access or restricted access in the courthouse. And myself in my division, I've been holding court every single day, even with the pandemic in place. I have in-person hearings because that is my requirement, because my division, we deal with the most vulnerable members of our community, people with mental health issues, people with substance abuse issues, children, um, firearm issues. I deal with it every single day, and experience matters. So when the full access is restored, we are going to have an onslaught of cases. And you, as the community, deserve and need someone who has the experience that they can handle the volume, handle the know the issues, knows the law, knows the rule, and is going to treat everybody fairly and expeditiously.
Well said. Well said. So I'll give you a little plug on all this, and thank you for saying that. You've been endorsed by the West Orange Political Alliance and then the big dog, Orlando Sentinel. So people certainly take notice of what you've done, and take the election right out of this right now. I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know that people think sometimes these positions are they're very time consuming, they're life consuming, and certainly, like you said, you've been blessed by the position. But in the same respect, this is a lot of commitment, and that many years. I think you deserve thank you. So
Thank you, Keith. I
I want to
appreciate
thank
that.
you. I'll give you a little extra plug here, and a boom, there it
Look at
is.
that. Hey,
Just happen to have that laying around.
that's awesome.
So I should probably make it clear to everybody. So that is the deal. Vote on or before August 18th, correct?
Absolutely. And for our Osceola County residents, you should have received a mailer from me today. And
Awesome.
our friends in Orange County who are listening to Positive Osceola should be receiving their mailer about me tomorrow. It's a two-sided mailer. You will learn, Osceola is probably reading right now, reading tonight, and ours will read tomorrow, all about my experience inside the courtroom and outside of the courtroom. And I've always tried to be balanced by my experience, balanced by my honesty. Um, you'll be able to read some of the endorsements of individuals who have endorsed me in both communities, Orange and Osceola. I've lived in both counties. I'm an Orange County resident now. I've lived in Osceola. I know every bit of both counties, and I'm a big support local business. When I got the endorsement from the West Orange Political Alliance, I was so thankful because the business community supports me. The Orlando Sentinel, that has the ability to research everything and know everything about everything that goes on in our community, has endorsed me, and I'm so very honored by both of those organizations. The Orlando Sentinel is one of the most important media outlets in the state of Florida, and the West Orange Political Alliance, with all of the businesses that provide, small and large, provide help to our economy, our growing economy. It's just been amazing. And over the years, Positive Osceola has been an amazing organization. And I love reading all the things every single morning because you pop up on my news feed for all these years. I've been on social media for 12 years, and it's been, I see it all the time. It's been amazing.
Well, I'm glad to say that. Thank you very much. And so honestly, tonight, I know we're kind of winding down. I just wanted to say once again, like we started, that I know you're extremely busy. And so we super appreciate that you would come tonight. It was an honor for me to talk to you. Had a chance to speak to you certainly last week. And so again, just really enjoyed the time. And I know you've been a part of the community, like we said earlier. So it was a wow night for us here at Positively Osceola. So anything you'd like to say before we close it out?
Keith, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on the coffee talk tonight. This is a great format. I want to tell the voters, experience matters. Vote for me. You can vote today. You can vote tomorrow. You can vote at early voting, and you can vote on election day. But please vote for me, Alan Apte, Circuit Judge, Orange and Osceola Counties, Group 21. Thank you so much.
And thank you, sir, very, very much. Again, honor before August 18th, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, the best of luck to you, sir. And again, we thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much, Keith. Have a great evening.
You as well. Okay, so this is Keith, again, with Positively Osceola, along with Judge Alan Apte. Together, we're making a positive difference in and around Osceola County. Have a great night, everybody.